The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Have you ever noticed how incredibly loud the world is? And I'm not talking about city traffic or music in your headphones. I'm talking about the constant hum inside your own head. A hum of other people's opinions, unsolicited advice, and old beliefs you don't even remember acquiring. This noise is like static on a radio. It drowns everything out. You try to tune into yourself, but all you hear are fragments of news reports, your parents' anxieties, your boss's expectations, and images of a successful life pulled from the internet. This noise isn't your fault. Think of your mind as a room that everyone you've ever met has walked through, and many of them left a small radio playing on their favorite station. Over the years, the room has become filled with a cacophony of competing sounds. You were born into this room and assumed the noise was just the sound of reality. Most of us live in this noise our entire lives, mistaking it for our own voice. We've grown accustomed to it, like someone who lives by the train tracks and no longer hears the trains. It has become the background we've stopped noticing, but it hasn't gone away. This background noise dictates our decisions, our fears, our desires. It makes us run when we could be still. It makes us demand when we should let go. It makes us speak when we need to listen. It creates a subtle but constant feeling of anxiety, a sense of being rushed even when there's plenty of time. Imagine you're standing in the center of a massive stadium during a championship game. The crowd is roaring. The music is blasting. Everyone around you is shouting. And in that moment, someone next to you tries to whisper something incredibly important. The single most important thing you'll ever hear in your life. Will you hear them? Of course not. This is precisely the situation we find ourselves in. Reality, the way things are actually arranged, is constantly speaking to us. Not with words, of course. It speaks the language of circumstances, of random encounters, of sudden insights and gut feelings. It's a very quiet whisper, and to hear it, the stadium in your head needs to fall silent. This internal noise is the product of old habits, outdated rules of the game that generations before us lived by. The rule of fight or die, the rule of take more, push harder, the rule of don't be worse than others. These rules worked once. They helped us survive, but the world has changed. The way things are arranged has become different. Yet we, out of inertia, continue to play the old game, creating an incredible amount of unnecessary tension, unnecessary noise. We are constantly trying to break through a wall, not noticing that there's an open door right next to it. We shout our desires into the void instead of hearing where the flow of life itself is calling us. The transformation happening right now isn't in the external world. It's not in technology or politics. It is an inside job. It is the shift from the deafening noise of the old world to the quiet clarity of a new understanding. And the first step in this journey is not to do something, but to stop doing. Stop fussing. Stop drowning out the silence. Stop believing every shout in your head. Just pause and admit, what I thought was me is mostly just noise, and the real me is the one who can either listen to this noise or turn it off. When the noise subsides, even for a moment, strange things begin to happen. You think of a person you haven't seen in 10 years, and they call you that very minute. You're pondering a question, and the answer appears in a randomly opened book or a phrase on a passing billboard. You don't know what to do. You take an unfamiliar street on a walk, and you see something that suddenly makes everything clear. We used to call these coincidences accidents, or even magic. But it's not magic. It's simply the workings of reality that you're beginning to hear without the static. It's as if you've spent your life listening to a radio tuned between stations, only hissing and crackling. And then suddenly, by turning the dial just a millimeter, you lock onto a clear signal. The music was always there. The broadcast was constant, but your receiver was tuned to the noise. These strange events are the first sounds of silence. They are the world's way of saying, I see you. I'm talking to you. Most people, when faced with this, just brush it off. The brain, accustomed to the old rules, immediately finds a logical explanation. Just a coincidence. I imagined it. It's called confirmation bias. Why does it do this? Because to admit that the world is alive and interacting with you is terrifying. It shatters the familiar picture of the world where you are a small person in a vast, cold, indifferent universe. To accept this is to take on a new level of responsibility, because if the world is speaking to you, then it is likely responding to your thoughts, your inner states. And that means the world isn't random. It means you are co-creating what happens to you, and that changes everything. It's scary for the part of us that loves to be the hero, struggling against meaningless chaos. In a responsive reality, that hero loses its job. Learning to recognize this language is like learning a foreign tongue. At first, you only catch individual words, intonations. Then you start to understand phrases, and eventually you can speak it fluently. The signs, the synchronicities, the insights. This is the alphabet. Reality is showing you. Look, everything is connected. Nothing is random. Every detail is in its place. You thought you lived in a world of separate, disconnected objects and events. In truth, you live inside a vast, living network where everything affects everything else. And your state, your thoughts, they are like a pebble dropped into a pond. They create ripples that change everything around you. When you begin to trust these quiet prompts more than the loud commands of your mind, your life changes its trajectory. You stop banging your head against walls. You start to feel the current and move with it. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, receiving the right information, not because you've become lucky, but because you finally heard the navigator that was trying to give you directions all along. A technical point. If what you are hearing right now resonates with you, press subscribe. It will signal that this information is valuable. So, you've turned down the noise. You've started noticing the signs and hearing the whispers of reality. What's next? This is where it gets truly interesting. A dialogue begins. Until now, you've essentially just been listening. Now you can start to speak, but not in a way you're used to. In the old world, we spoke to reality through demands. I want a car. I want a relationship. Give me money. We screamed, stomped our feet, demanded, and felt resentful. This is the monologue of a spoiled child. The living world doesn't respond to that language. It simply waits for you to calm down. A dialogue in the new reality begins with a question. Not a question from the mind, but a question from your entire being. It isn't a verbal construct like, "So, what should I do?" It's more of an inner state, a state of openness and readiness to receive an answer. You find yourself at a crossroads, and instead of frantically weighing the pros and cons in your head, you simply let go of the problem. You say to the world, in essence, "Show me," and then you fall silent. This silence is not emptiness. It's the space you have cleared for the answer to arrive. And the answer will always arrive. But it won't come as a voice from the heavens. It will come through events. An article will catch your eye. A friend will call and tell a story that perfectly mirrors your situation. You'll step outside and see something that provides the solution. The answer always comes in the language of circumstances. We are taught that we have to figure everything out ourselves. To think, plan, control. This is the main source of the noise. We try to compute a vast, infinitely complex world inside our small heads. It's impossible, and it's pointless, because the world itself is ready to show you the best path. You just need to learn how to ask, and then be quiet enough to see the answer. A solution that comes from the noise feels forced and complicated. A solution that arises from silence feels elegant, simple, and effortless. It has the feeling of course, how did I not see that before? This is the activation. It's the shift from the passive role of a victim of circumstances to the active role of a conversational partner. You don't just float down the river. You can ask the river where it's flowing and where the best route is. and the river will answer you with its currents, its rocks, its bends. Sometimes the answer is do nothing. Just wait. For a mind trained to always be solving, this is the hardest instruction to follow. But learning to trust stillness is part of the dialogue. Try it. The next time you feel stuck, don't descend into panic and start generating noise. Stop, breathe, and just pose an inner question. What do I need to see right now? And then let it go. Forget about it. Go about your day, but with one small adjustment. Pay attention. Look around. Listen to what people are saying. Notice where you are drawn. The answer is already on its way. You have simply made room for it. The quieter you are on the inside, the more clearly you see how everything is arranged on the outside. You see connections where you once saw chaos. You see meaning where you once saw randomness. You cease to be a stranger in this world. You become a part of it, its conversationalist, its co-creator. And that is the greatest discovery one can ever make in the silence. If this video has changed something in you, write in the comments, I am starting to listen. Write it as a promise to yourself. Nobody